Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Lacking substance or significance. Slight evidence. A deliberate discourteous act, usually as an expression of anger or disapproval. Being of delicate or slender build. Watched her slight figure cross the street. Pay no attention to, disrespect. Quantifier used with mass nouns, small in quantity or degree, not much or almost none, or, with, a. At least some. There's slight chance that it will work. Not convincing. A flimsy argument. Lacking substance or significance. Lacking solidity or strength. A flimsy table. A thin, strong, lightweight, translucent paper used especially for making carbon copies. Lacking substance or significance. A fragile claim to fame. Easily broken or damaged or destroyed. Fragile porcelain plates. Vulnerably delicate. She has the fragile beauty of youth. Lacking substance or significance. A tenuous argument. Having thin consistency. A tenuous fluid. Very thin in gauge or diameter. A tenuous thread. Lacking excess flesh. You can't be too rich or too thin. Not dense. A thin beard. Take off weight. Lacking substance or significance. A thin plot. Without viscosity. The blood was flowing thin. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Very narrow. A thin line across the page. Lacking spirit or sincere effort. A thin smile. Lose thickness. Become thin or thinner. Make thin or thinner. Of relatively small extent from one surface to the opposite or in cross-section. Thin wire. Of sound, lacking resonance or volume. A thin feeble cry. Relatively thin in consistency or low in density, not viscous. Air is thin at high altitudes. Force or drive back. Rebuff the attack. An instance of driving away or warding off. A deliberate discourteous act, usually as an expression of anger or disapproval. Reject outright and bluntly. Being of delicate or slender build. She was slender as a willow shoot is slender. Very narrow. Small in quantity. Slender wages. Having little width in proportion to the length or height. A slender pole. Take off weight. Being of delicate or slender build. A slim girl with straight blonde hair. Small in quantity. A slim chance of winning. Being of delicate or slender build. Pay no attention to, disrespect. She cold-shouldered her ex-fiancé. Informal, small and of little importance. A little, or small, matter. Lowercase. Little a. Low in stature, not tall. A little man. quantifier used with mass nouns, small in quantity or degree, not much or almost none or, with, a. At least some. Little rain fell in May. Of children and animals, young, immature. What a big little boy you are. Of a voice, faint. A little voice. Limited or below average in number or quantity or magnitude or extent. A little dining room. A small amount or duration. He accepted the little they gave him. Small in a way that arouses feelings of tenderness or its opposite depending on the context. A nice little job. Devoid of importance, meaning, or force. Not important. A relatively unimportant feature of the system. Small and unimpressive. An insignificant sum of money. Of little importance or influence or power, of minor status. A minor, insignificant bureaucrat. Devoid of importance, meaning, or force. Signifying nothing. Insignificant sounds. Lacking excess flesh. Jan Cassius has a lean and hungry look. The property possessed by a line or surface that departs from the vertical. Containing little excess. A lean budget. Have a tendency or disposition to do or be something, be inclined. Cause to lean to the side. To incline or bend from a vertical position. She leaned over the banister. Cause to lean or incline. He leaned his rifle against the wall. Not profitable or prosperous. A lean year. Rely on for support. We can lean on this man. Lacking in mineral content or combustible material. Lean or. Not large but sufficient in size or amount. Helped in my own small way. Lowercase. Small a. Relatively moderate, limited, or small. A small business. Low or inferior in station or quality. Small beginnings. Of children and animals, young, immature. Small children. Of a voice, faint. A still small voice. Made to seem smaller or less, especially in worth. Her comments made me feel small. Limited or below average in number or quantity or magnitude or extent. A small car. A garment size for a small person. Have fine or very small constituent particles. A small misty rain. Slight or limited, especially in degree or intensity or scope. A series of death struggles with small time in between. The slender part of the back. On a small scale. Think small. Used to form the comparative of some adjectives and adverbs. Less interesting. Comparative of, little, usually used with mass nouns, a quantifier meaning not as great in amount or degree. Of less importance. Non-standard in some uses but often idiomatic with measure phrases, fewer. Less than 3 weeks. Usually preceded by, no, lower in quality. No less than perfect. Comparative of little. She walks less than she should. A transgression that constitutes a violation of what is judged to be right. The team that has the ball, or puck, and is trying to score. A feeling of anger caused by being offended. A lack of politeness. A failure to show regard for others, wounding the feelings or others. The action of attacking an enemy. A lack of politeness. A failure to show regard for others, wounding the feelings or others. An expression of lack of respect. A lack of politeness. A failure to show regard for others, wounding the feelings or others. A manner that is rude and insulting. A transgression that constitutes a violation of what is judged to be right. The team that has the ball, or puck, and is trying to score. A feeling of anger caused by being offended. He took offense at my question. A lack of politeness. A failure to show regard for others, wounding the feelings or others. The action of attacking an enemy. Cease to consider. Put out of judicial consideration. This case is dismissed. Stop associating with. Bar from attention or consideration. She dismissed his advances. Terminate the employment of. Discharge from an office or position. End one's encounter with somebody by causing or permitting the person to leave. I was dismissed after I gave my report. Declare void. Refuse to acknowledge. Give little or no attention to. Bar from attention or consideration. Fail to notice. Be ignorant of or in the dark about. Push out of the way. Bar from attention or consideration. Bar from attention or consideration. An amount or percentage deducted. Interest on an annual basis deducted in advance on a loan. A refund of some fraction of the amount paid. Bar from attention or consideration. The act of reducing the selling price of merchandise. Give a reduction in price on. I never discount these books, they sell like hotcakes. Bar from attention or consideration. Refuse to acknowledge. Give little or no attention to. Bar from attention or consideration. Willful lack of care and attention. Lack of attention and due care. An instance of driving away or warding off. Refuse to acknowledge. Reject outright and bluntly. She snubbed his proposal. A refusal to recognize someone you know. The snub was clearly intentional. Unusually short. A snub nose. The omission that is made when an editorial change shortens a written passage. Weed out unwanted or unnecessary things. We had to lose weight, so we cut the sugar from our diet. Cut down on. Make a reduction in. The employer wants to cut back health benefits. The act of penetrating or opening open with a sharp edge. His cut in the lining revealed the hidden jewels. Made neat and tidy by trimming. In baseball, a batter's attempt to hit a pitched ball. He took a vicious cut at the ball. Used of rates or prices, reduced usually sharply. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Cut bourbon. Cut and assemble the components of. Cut recording tape. Used of grass or vegetation, cut down with a hand implement or machine. Reduce in scope while retaining essential elements. The act of cutting something into parts. His cuts were skillful. Refuse to acknowledge. She cut him dead at the meeting. Turn sharply. Change direction abruptly. The car cut to the left at the intersection. Be able to manage or manage successfully. She could not cut the long days in the office. Mixed with water. Sold cut whiskey. A refusal to recognize someone you know. The act of shortening something by chopping off the ends. The barber gave him a good cut. Sports. A stroke that puts reverse spin on the ball. Cuts do not bother a good tennis player. Style and tailor in a certain fashion. Cut a dress. With parts removed. The drastically cut film. A wound made by cutting. He put a bandage over the cut. Create by duplicating data. Cut a disk. Cease, stop. Cut the noise. Cut off the testicles, of male animals such as horses. A piece of meat that has been cut from an animal carcass. Make out an issue. Cut a ticket. A trench resembling a furrow that was made by erosion or excavation. A remark capable of wounding mentally. The unkindest cut of all. Intentionally fail to attend. Cut class. A distinct selection of music from a recording or a compact disc. He played the first cut on the CD. The division of a deck of cards before dealing. He insisted that we give him the last cut before every deal. Of a male animal, having the testicles removed. A cut horse. Cause to stop operating by disengaging a switch. Cut the engine. A canal made by erosion or excavation. Allow incision or separation. This bread cuts easily. An unexcused absence from class. He was punished for taking too many cuts in his math class. A share of the profits. Everyone got a cut of the earnings. A step on some scale. He is a cut above the rest. Discharge from a group. The coach cut 2 players from the team. Dissolve by breaking down the fat of. Soap cuts grease. Divide a deck of cards at random into 2 parts to make selection difficult. Wayne cut. Fashioned or shaped by cutting. A well-cut suit. Fell by sawing, hew. The Vietnamese cut a lot of timber while they occupied Cambodia. Film. An immediate transition from one shot to the next. The cut from the accident scene to the hospital seemed too abrupt. Form by probing, penetrating, or digging. Cut a hole. Form or shape by cutting or incising. Cut paper dolls. function as a cutting instrument. This knife cuts well. Give the appearance or impression of. Cut a nice figure. Grow through the gums. The new tooth is cutting. Have a reducing effect. This cuts into my earnings. Have grow through the gums. The baby cut a tooth. Hit a ball with a spin so that it turns in the opposite direction. Cut a ping pong ball. Make an abrupt change of image or sound. Cut from one scene to another. Make an incision or separation. Cut along the dotted line. Make a recording of. Cut the songs. Move one's fist. His opponent cut upward toward his chin. Pass directly and often in haste. We cut through the neighbor's yard to get home sooner. Pass through or across. The boat cut the water. Penetrate injuriously. The glass from the shattered windshield cut into her forehead. Perform or carry out. Cut a caper. Reap or harvest. Cut grain. Record a performance on a medium. Cut a record. Separated into parts or laid open or penetrated with a sharp edge or instrument. The cut surface was modeled. Separate with or as if with an instrument. Shorten as if by severing the edges or ends of. Cut my hair. Stop filming. Cut a movie scene. The act of reducing the amount or number. The mayor proposed extensive cuts in the city budget. The style in which a garment is cut. A dress of traditional cut. Of pages of a book, having the folds of the leaves trimmed or slit. The cut pages of the book. An aloof refusal to speak to someone you know. A refusal to recognize someone you know.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.